All right, hey everybody, Coach JT, Coach Rob here, Game Changer. We wanted to do a webinar today on how to eat better or how to have better habits around eating when stuck at home during these times. So I know I've worked with a lot of you guys on your nutrition stuff within Game Changer Springfield recently, and Rob is actually who I learned all of my information from. So he's going to kick it off. He's going to take the lead on this one, and I'll jump in when I see fit. But without further ado, Mr. Rob.
Andres, can you check Facebook Live? All right, so we're going to talk about eating healthy whilst being stuck at home. And as we do this, anybody who is live, obviously we want to make this interactive so that we can help you out. So if you're on Facebook Live, type in a question as they come up. Every so often, Andres is going to let me know, and I'll answer them that way. If you're on Zoom, type in when you have a question. As we see something that comes in that's typed in, Andres will let me know, and I can even unmute you. That way you can talk. So on Facebook, if you have any questions, type them in and we'll address them. Zoom, type in and you can choose to either speak or just type in and we'll answer them as we go along. So like he said, we're talking about eating healthy whilst at home. And there's a bunch of different ways we can attack this, and we'll attack it in many ways as we go on through this virtual world of communicating. We can talk about the specific food choices, but what I want to focus on today is specific hacks. You know, that's a fancy word. Not everybody likes that word. But specific hacks, strategies, or habits that we can use to combat that. And there's a few reasons why. And why it's important that we address this is because right now you're stuck at home. Your life is very different. You're going to be creating a whole new set of patterns and habits. And if we create crappy ones, then even as life gets back to normal and your routine gets back to normal, you're going to carry those with you. So as your life is adjusting, we want to make sure we still have good habits and that you take them with you as you get back into your regular routine.
I know that like when I'm at home now, like I'm now more than ever can rationalize, oh, I'll just have another bowl of pasta. I'll have another serving. It's okay. We're in a hard time right now. But obviously, that's not the way to go about it.
And that's why JT actually needed to upgrade his short size already because his waist got a little longer. So that's important to note. He's a cautionary tale.
That's right.
There's going to be, in this state, there's a lot of boredom. I hear all the time people, when I try to help with nutrition, I don't think I'm hungry. I'm just eating because I'm bored. Like that's going to be amplified more than ever right now. So that's why we need to address this. You're going to have less movement. We're doing an awesome job with the challenges and people getting their steps. It's going to be a lot harder to get movement, not only by your purposeful exercise that you're doing, but just your non-exercise physical activity. That's going to be down because you're not probably commuting to work. You're not taking the kids to school. You're not doing the exact same things that you're doing. So because that's going to be altered, you really do need to focus even more on the nutrition part of things. There is scarcity with your food right now. I know you go out, there might not be chicken, there might not be beef, there might not be eggs, there might not be all the things that you want. So that's why it's even more important that we have some kind of plan. And that's also why I think it's important that we talk about right now hacks and habits rather than food choices. Because you might not even have all the foods that you'd want in a perfect world. And this kind of like interlocks with the boredom. But because we're social distancing, eating is it's a social isolation thing that you can do. It's a way that you can entertain yourself. And it's probably going to replace a lot of the things that you're going to be doing. So that's why I want to make sure we do well. And you know what? We need hobbies. We need something. This is a project. Here, this is your project. Work on your nutrition. You have plenty of time to do it. So let's do it, okay?
And along with like us coming up with the topic of what to talk to you guys about today, the less movement thing was like the first thing that was on my mind. You're probably moving like a third of what you did in your normal life. So your steps are down. You're burning less calories. And simply put, if whatever you were eating on a daily basis, whatever your habits were maintaining your weight in life before you were quarantined or you're stuck at home, that is probably going to have you gaining some weight. So it's really important to get a hold of what you're eating and what's going on, especially your calorie intake, because you're moving a lot less and burning less calories than you were before this. So that's why we came up with this and why I want to have this talk.
All right, next on the agenda, the first thing that I want to talk about, and if you've been a member of Game Changer and I've addressed anything with nutrition, you'll know that the first thing that I like to address is to eat slowly. JT, would you call myself a fast eater or a slow eater?
Ooh, I would say a very fast eater.
So God knows I'm still working on this, and I tackle it here and there. And I know right now this is the biggest thing I'm going to be tackling, and you probably at home need to tackle it as well, right? And there's many benefits of it and many reasons why we want to focus on it. First of all, this goes to our discussion that even if you have crappy foods, like, all right, or it's not, let's say it's just not the best foods, like this is what I have, then this can at least help you. Because if you're eating slowly, and you don't have a choice of your food choice, you can actually eat less of it if you eat slowly. So bottom line, eating slowly means eating less. And what we want to do is we want to increase our meal length without increasing the quantity. So dinner time comes, your plate's in front of you. Your goal is to take more time to finish that than it normally would, right? Because you're probably going to eat less if it takes you more time to finish that.
It's a really good opportunity here too, is like with every meal now that everyone's at home, to talk to your family. You know, don't let the kids have the phones at the table while you're eating. Just strike up conversation, and naturally by talking to people and interacting with your family, maybe learning something about them, you'll eat less and eat slower because you're doing it.
JT, if you and I spend time at the dinner table and we had our devices down, we weren't looking at the TV, we weren't scrolling through our phones, what's one thing I learned about you that I don't know?
You would learn that I eat really fast.
Eat really fast. Let's say we're doing like personal conversation. What's something personal I learned about you?
That I love to watch reality TV.
You know what? I might not know that about Joseph Taylor. Looking at him, looks like the typical jock. Probably watching sports all the time, but the man loves The Bachelorette. God help him. But that's things I learned about him. You can learn more about your family. One forkful at a time, and all that means is you take a bite, you have to finish and swallow that food before you take the next bite. If you're still chewing that round, don't go for another one. And people all the time say to me, I start telling people slowly, like, yeah, I know 21 bites before I can swallow, right? Now, you don't have to be nuts. You don't have to do 21 bites, 30 bites, whatever random number you've heard. You just need to make sure that you finish it before you add additional.
I couldn't imagine counting every time that I took a mouthful of food.
Some people do that. And it's everything we're giving you, it's going to be sane and normal. There's a lot of crap out there, a lot of nonsense information, all right? This is all going to be pretty simple and normal. So all you have to do, take a bite. Don't take another one until you swallow that. Please don't count your bites of food. That's the problem, okay? We kind of addressed this. I would as little as possible, so I thought you could put less. Not eating in front of the TV, not scrolling through social media, and not scrolling through whatever the hell else on your phone. Especially now, I mentioned this fast. Right now, if you go on social media, I guarantee you're going to feel worse than you were before. So in addition to that, I know what I used to. I'd scroll, eat, scroll. You don't even realize what you're doing, and it makes it a lot harder to follow all the rules that we have in place. Same thing with TV. Just eating. You're like an animal. Pay attention, okay? And what also this does when you're eating all the time with television is you're making that connection, and the television almost becomes a cue. Oh, the TV is on. I need to eat. So it's not only going to help you eat slowly, but it's going to separate the cue of television. I need to eat. And you're going to be watching a lot of television. So the last thing you want to do is be pairing that with the cue of, I need to eat food. Make sense?
I don't think I've ever had an experience with like social media where I scrolled through and I was like, oh, I'm so happy that I did that. It's either a waste of time or I felt worse about myself. So I do agree with that. And that's the TV thing is something that I can definitely get better at. I definitely sit down on the couch and start eating. I have no idea what I just ate. And it's hard to, even have good habits around that. If you're distracted, you know what's going on. So that's something that I could have to do a little bit better too.
And a question that I want to pose to you, and again, you can answer on Zoom or Facebook. Andres is going to tell us if they pop up. What other times do you find that you need to slow down when you're eating? I know one thing, and there might be less of this, depending on your situation, there might not be, is if you're trying to rush out the door. A lot of people will eat while standing up, or they'll maybe eat while driving in the car. That is not a recipe for eating slowly, all right? So sit down when you eat. Please, all of your meals, I've told some of you this in the past, that's a rule for you. You must be sitting down when you're eating. You cannot be driving when you're eating because you will not eat slowly. You will not increase the length of your meal, and you're not going to pay attention to it. You're not going to enjoy it. So make sure you're sitting down when you're eating. Sip a beverage, all right? This is not an exact science, but I've seen people talk about when they're watching a football game, the perfect combination is to have a chip and then take a sip. And while I'm not encouraging you to eat a lot of chips, in between each bite or every few bites, taking some kind of sip of a beverage is definitely helpful. It's going to increase the length of time of your meal, and it's going to fill you up more. As a matter of fact, some studies showed that drinking, let's say, 12 to 16 ounces of water before your meal will force you to eat less during the meal. So in between your bites, which we're finishing completely before we take another forkful, purposely drink something. And of course, we want it to be calorie-free. whether it's water, seltzer, or anything that doesn't have calories that you enjoy. Make sense? Make your food hot. If you're like me, you will take food right out of the fridge, and it could be meat, it could be pasta, it doesn't matter. I will eat that cold. The colder your food is, the quicker you will eat it. If you gotta take a moment, wipe away the smoke. The hotter your food is, the slower you're going to eat it. So especially if it's a dinner time food, if it is food that the good Lord intended for you to eat hot, then heat it up and make it a little hotter than normal. And you know what? I know my mother would always be a little upset if I did not eat the meal when it was at its hottest, because that's when it was at its most prepared, and she wanted me to enjoy it the way it was supposed to be enjoyed. So don't let once food's done, that's when being made, that's when you should eat. If you're reheating food, make sure you get it to a higher temperature. It will slow things down for you. And this is just this is a for instance. Like all things, the habits that we try to introduce, we try to introduce them somewhat slowly so that they can be more sustainable. So if a meal currently takes you 5 minutes, and that it could take you that slow, it probably takes me that slow a lot of time, that fast, try to increase to 10 minutes. If it currently takes 10 minutes, try to increase to 15 minutes, and so forth and so on. And remember, the reason why we do this is because once you start eating, that tastes good, our appetite is a little stimulated, our taste buds are stimulated, and from that point on, you're going to be hungry for a set period of time. How long is it? It might be 15 minutes, it might be 20 minutes, it might be 10 minutes. But in that time frame, by using these tactics, you're going to intake as little food as possible, as few calories as possible. So that is the reason why we want to increase the length of our meals, why we want to eat slowly, because you're going to have fewer calories while still being full, because you're only going to be hungry for a certain amount of time. All right, so we're going to use these tactics.
And proof of that is everyone has had that time when they, ate dinner or ate lunch and had seconds to that dinner or to that lunch, and then like 5 minutes later, immediately regretted it.
Yep.
You're way too full. You feel like your stomach is huge and you're really uncomfortable. Happens to me often. I guarantee if you just slowed down that eating process, that fullness would have came earlier. So you wouldn't have to eat that much. You'd be just as full and you have less calories. So the speed really just comes down to that. And you've felt that before, I guarantee it.
100%. And let's say you start your breakfast at 9:45. At 10 o'clock comes, and 10 o'clock comes and your meal isn't finished. Doesn't matter. You're going to end it, and you're going to go do your workout at 10 o'clock. So especially if you're sticking to some kind of schedule, then you're not going to eat for that long, right? So the goal is to diminish how much you're eating during that time period. You're not going to spend hours on end eating. So you're going to eat for a certain amount of time. Let's try to get in as few calories as possible during that time frame. And something that is a good teaching tool that I like to recommend to a lot of people, it's known as the Raisin Challenge. JT, do you remember what the Raisin Challenge is? I mentioned to you one time before. Here's the Raisin Challenge. You think you've been challenged before? You think you're going through rough times now? Wait till you take the 10 minutes to do the Raisin Challenge. You're going to find raisins, wherever they are these days, and you're going to take 10 of them out. You're going to place them in front of you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're going to take an old school little timer. You're going to start it. And every minute on the minute, you're going to eat a raisin. And then you're just going to sit. You're going to wait a whole minute. And then you're going to eat another raisin. Then you're going to sit. So it's going to be 10 raisins in 10 minutes. 1 raisin per minute. It is going to be painstakingly annoying, but it's going to teach you good habits about eating slowly, because first of all, you're not going to have to eat that slowly when you do your meals. So slowing down in normal time is going to seem like a cakewalk. And of course, JT, what should we do before we eat the raisins?
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Very good. Another tip for you. And just some other benefits that we mentioned in eating slowly. You'll have more family time. If you're not scrolling, not watching TV, you'll talk to your family. You'll learn things about your family, right? You'll enjoy your time with them. You'll enjoy actually I put enjoy your family. Actually, I meant to put enjoy your food here. You'll enjoy your food more. You'll actually experience what it tastes like. How many times have somebody said to me, why are you rushing with your food? Can you even enjoy it? Can you even taste it? And you know what? They were correct. So the slower you're eating, the more you'll be able to enjoy it. If you ever watch a food critic enjoy a meal, they're eating slowly because they're trying to identify all the tastes and textures in there. If you've ever seen somebody tasting wine, they swish it around in their mouth when they drink because they want to see all the little notes of fruit and berry and twig or whatever else is in there. So you will enjoy it more if you slow it down. There is. I don't know. You don't know what's going on in there.
This is true.
And it's going to enable you to enjoy your treat and cheat foods a little more. Because if you employ this strategy, you can have those foods because you're automatically going to have less of them. You're going to have fewer calories. Remember, when it comes to our body weight and our body fat percentage, the biggest thing surrounding all of it is the total calories that we're intaking, right? So it's going to help you keep that control. And another tip, a little asterisk next year, is to stop at 80% full. Because we don't need to be, I remember Everybody Loves Raymond, Frank Barone would unbuckle his pants before a big meal. That's getting to 100, maybe even 110% full. There's no need to do that. You want to stop at 80%. And if you slow down and enjoy it, you're going to be able to understand that more. It's going to make more sense to you, and you're not going to eat as many calories. So eat slowly, stop at 80% full, bada bing, bada boom. Moving on. Next on the agenda, plates, bowls, glasses. What do all those things have in common, JT?
They contain food and beverage.
They contain food and beverage. And a study shows that 72% of our calories come from plates, bowls, and glasses. I know what you're thinking. Where the hell does the other 28% come from? I don't know, eating out of bags, eating out of the container probably. So we do want to limit that stuff as much as possible.
I thought you meant people were eating their plates, bowls, and glasses.
No, they're not eating their plates, bowls, and glasses. You know what? In Willy Wonka, they were allowed to eat their plates, bowls, and glasses. Everything was edible. When Willy he drinks the cup and then he eats it, I always wanted to do that. Anyway, that's a tangent. 70% of your calories are going to come from there, so we want to make sure that we're controlling how many calories are coming from there. And a lot of people have heard this, so maybe you're rolling your eyes. We get it. We know that we need to use smaller plates, smaller bowls, smaller glasses. I know a lot of you probably already employ that strategy. Let's say when you're having ice cream, you know it's best not to have it in a big bowl. It's best to put it in a cup, and you'll have less of it. And although some of you might know what you have to do, it really is important to know why you should do this. And I'm going to talk about a few studies that will really drive it home for you. And obviously, that goes with any of your goals, right? If we know the why behind it, there's a much better chance that you're going to stick to the what. And of course, why we do want smaller plates? Because it's going to have the quantity of food that reduced. It is also going to make you use increased effort in order to eat more. If you use a smaller plate, if you want to get more food, you got to go and fill it up again. And although that seems like small effort, yeah, sometimes it can be the thing that's going to prevent you from filling your plate again. And what we're also going to talk about is the guilt/awareness factor. Because when you have a plate, a bowl of food, whatever on there, there is an increased sense of guilt by finishing it, by eating everything that's on there. So if you have a big plate or a small plate, the guilt is going to be the same whether you finish it 100% or not. So at least if you're finishing 100% of the small plate, it's going to be fewer calories. I'm going to talk a little more about that. And I want to reference a few studies, and actually specifically, we're going to reference a popcorn study and a soup study, and they come from the book Mindless Eating. It's a good book. I recommend that you get it. Let's talk about the popcorn and how this relates to our bowl and plate sizes. So they did a study back when the movie Payback came out, starring Mel Gibson. JT, quick little trivia. For what film did Mel Gibson win Best Director and it also won Best Picture?
Lethal Weapon.
Not Lethal Weapon, no. Want another guess? Anybody at home want to put in a guess?
Braveheart.
Wow. Much more than an almost pretty face. Man has a little bit of knowledge too. So 1995 Braveheart. Great film, a little bloody. If you have the kids at home, don't watch it with them. Watch it by yourselves. William Wallace, of course. But there was a study when the movie Payback came out. And they took a few movie theaters in the Chicago area. And when they came to see the movie Payback, they were greeted with a free bucket of popcorn. Oh, this is awesome. Thank you. And they took the popcorn into the theater with them. And this is what they did. They gave some people a large bucket of popcorn, and they gave some people a medium-sized bucket of popcorn. And here's the catch. First of all, it was free, the popcorn. And second of all, it was 5-day-old popcorn. So it was disgusting. All right, and they studied to see how much of the bowl was actually consumed. And it didn't matter whether it was a medium bag or a large bag. Everybody ate the same percentage of the bag. So the person with the large bag ate more calories than the person from the medium bag. And they even questioned people after. They said, how did you like it? Some people, they hated the popcorn so much that they asked for their money back, even though it was free. And they questioned people, how did you enjoy it? What'd you think about it? Some people said it was disgusting. They hated it. That was a good majority of them. Yet, on average, people still ate the same amount. even though they thought it was disgusting, because they were doing so mindlessly while watching a movie. And it just so happened that the people in the with the medium bag, they ate fewer calories just because the bag was smaller. So even if you're not enjoying your food so much, just because of that cue, you're going to be eating more of it than you even realize. So that's why it's important to set yourself up for success and to almost trick yourself by having a smaller bowl, a smaller plate, a smaller whatever that you're eating out of. The next thing that I want to reference is this is a soup study, and they had people eating soup. It was in a controlled environment. And what they had in some of the bowls is they had a tube, and this is an actual experiment. They had a tube underneath the bowl, and then let's say once the bowl got to about, like there was maybe only a quarter left, they would slowly pump more soup into the bowl. So it was just enough that people thought they were making progress, and they didn't realize it. And lo and behold, the people who had the soup being pumped in, they kept going, they kept eating, so they kept having more calories because people thought, oh, this is my bowl, I'm going to eat X percentage out of it. And if more got in there, then they ate more. So the container that you're using really is going to determine what you're having. And I'm going to talk about this later on. A big key is people don't realize this. They surveyed all these people. How much soup did you drink? Did you eat? How much popcorn did you eat? Everybody thought they had less than they really did. So we're not as aware of these things as we think we are. So set yourself up for success. Smaller bowls, smaller plates. And we didn't talk about glasses yet, all right? This is a very scientific study on why using smaller glasses is going to be appropriate. And JT, when you drink out of a glass, what is it? What are you usually drinking out of it?
Water.
Water. Good for JT.
Water.
I know with me, it's usually wine, okay? And there's been a lot of scientific evidence to show that now, more than ever, your wine consumption is going to go up. Let me break it down. This was actually conducted in, I think, Harvard Institute of Studies. Okay. So right now, we're doing what's called social distancing, okay? And this is what's happening. It's leading to work craziness, and a lot of you working at home, I've been talking to you, you say work is busier than ever. It leads to work craziness, which leads to you drinking wine out of a glass. Social distancing leads to kids being at home, which scientifically shows to more wine being drunk out of a glass. Social distancing, particularly in JT's case, leads to more loneliness, which scientifically leads to more wine out of a glass.
More water.
Social distancing, panic buying, leads to grocery stores that are empty, which leads to you wanting to buy something. So you only buy wine, and it's more wine in your glass. Social distancing leads to more time with your spouse, which can drive you up a wall, which leads you to more wine in your glass.
Definitely more wine.
Social distancing leads to more Netflix, Hulu, HBO, whatever the hell, which pairs well with wine in a glass. And finally, social distancing leads to more free time, which for many of us leads to more wine in a glass. So now that we have the science behind it, clear science that can't be argued, we're going to talk a little bit more about how we can choose what glass we're going to follow. So JT has not seen this test yet, okay? I have a vertical line, and I have a horizontal line. First question, when they intersect, what kind of angle do we call that, JT?
Right angles.
Right angle. How many degrees is the right angle?
90.
JT, what is a shape that has all right angles?
That'll be a square.
A square or a rectangle, something like that. Great job, JT. Wasn't prepped beforehand. Something that JT has also not been prepped for. JT, which line looks longer?
The vertical one, of course.
Vertical one. And I was thinking, JT is probably like of average intelligence, so the average person should get this answer correct. It was a trick question. Fooled you. They're both the same distance. So I see, like, it's the length of my marker, length of my marker. And for whatever reason, when we perceive things, we perceive vertical objects to be larger than the width of like a horizontal object. So what does that mean? Why is that important to me? Well, let's take a couple of wine glasses. Let's say they're both 10 ounces, okay? If you have a vertical wine glass that holds 10 ounces, and then you have a shorter, wider glass that holds 10 ounces, I'm going to recommend that you use the vertical one, and I'll tell you why. Because when you have the vertical one, you're going to say, you know what? I want to be good. Holy crap, that's a lot of wine if I fill it up all the way. I'm only going to fill it up halfway. If that glass was 10 ounces, you'd only be having 5 ounces of wine, all right? So not as many calories to fill all the way. If you're using a shorter, fatter glass that also holds 10 ounces, you don't think it's as large as the tall glass. So you know what? Oh, this is a short fat glass. I'm gonna fill it up all the way because it's very small. I'm gonna fill it up 3/4 of the way. When in reality, now you've filled up 7.5 ounces. And they've done a lot of studies where they've given people glasses, one of the same, it can hold the same volume, one short and long, one shorter and of greater width. And all the time, people consume more calories when they have the shorter, wider glass. And again, they questioned these people and they said, oh, how many ounces did you drink? And they all thought they drank less than they really did, especially the people with the shorter glasses. People think they are immune when it comes to eating and drinking. People think they're smarter than they are. And it's not a question of intelligence, it's a question of awareness. We have all these things that are making it tough, so we think we're doing better than we really are. But study after study shows that we're not. So since we can't figure this out, right, we're not measuring everything. Ooh, how many ounces of water can I fit in this? We have to set ourselves up for success with tips like this. So tall, skinny glasses. Next, visibility. Visibility. We have the seafood trap, and I'm going to explain what this is. We want to make healthy foods more visible. We want to make less healthy foods more invisible. And we also want to be able to see the progress that we're making with our meal. Going back to what I said before, we want to use smaller plates because as we finish that small plate, we think, man, I did a lot of good work here. I finished 100%. I shouldn't have any more. If you use a large plate, you're going to be thinking the same thing. So why not choose the one that's going to give us fewer calories? Same thing happens when we see the evidence of our food. And I'm going to talk about the wing experiment, as it's aptly named. So they had two groups of people, and they had wings for the table. And one group, and these were not boneless wings, wings on the bone, which do taste better. I do recommend them. Folks, they would have them eat the wings on the bone. They'd have a separate bucket to put the wings in. And they did this for both tables. Wings, wings, bucket for the bones, bucket for the bones. For one group, they had a waitress remove the bucket, empty it out, and put it back so that for most of the time, people did not see the bones that they had eaten off of. The waitress got rid of them. There was another group where the waitress did not touch the eaten wings. The group always saw what they had, and they saw the evidence, they saw the bones. And it was the group that constantly removed the eaten wings, the evidence, the bones, that kept eating more and more. The group that saw the evidence, I've eaten 5 wings, I see the bones right there, they consumed less. So we want to make visible the amount of food that we're eating. We can have some record of it, we're going to eat less because it's making us more aware. And this is what we call also the seafood trap. This is where I talked about making healthy foods more visible and unhealthy foods less visible. If you see food, that's putting off the cue that, oh, I want to eat it. And they've referenced this a lot in studies over and over again. So what we want to do is we want to make our healthy foods visible. And the easiest thing is to have a fruit bowl out. There's a much better chance that you're going to grab it. I know that vegetables in the fridge, we often put them in the crisper thing at the bottom, right? That can actually be of detriment because a lot of times, like I do it all the time. I forget what the hell I even have in there. They're stored in there, and we don't go for it. So we want to make them more visible. Also, every time you see something that you have to say no to, that's reducing some of your willpower. So every time that I see a candy bar out and I deny myself it, I'm saying no, okay? And we've talked about willpower before. Willpower is finite. So this is my willpower for the day, okay? I have a Snickers bar on my counter. Every time I see it and I refuse to eat it, all right, I took off some willpower. I come back later in the day. I see that Snickers bar. I refuse to eat it. More willpower gone. It's midday snack time. I'm going to go reach for an apple, but there's a Snickers bar right near it. I used up even more willpower. Dinner time. I'm done. I want a little something sweet. Snickers bar right there. I don't want it. I can't take it. I'm hungry at night. I see a Snickers bar. Up, no willpower left. I'm gonna eat it, right? So the more you say, every time you say no, that's using up some of your willpower. That's weakening some of your defenses. There's have you ever seen insomnia cookies? I know there's one in Manhattan. There was one in Syracuse when I went to school, and there was a sign on the outside that said "free smells." Free, who the hell is gonna go in for a smell? Well, a smell, that is also a cue that when you smell something good, you're gonna want to eat it. So not only making the visibility of your food important, but if it's a nice tasty treat and it carries a nice aroma, you want to put that away from you as possible because that's also going to entice you. And another study that we could reference, they took Secretaries Week and they gave to a bunch of secretaries in different offices, they gave them candies. And they changed up some of the variables. For some of them, they left it right on the desk in a very visible so that people could see it. Other people, they put it in a transparent container. Other people, they put the candy in a non-transparent container. And other people, they would change the distances of where the candy was in relation to them. And by far, the more visible the candy was and the closer it was to people, the more it was eaten. That's all they had to change. Less candy was taken out of the container if it wasn't transparent or if it was further away from people. So the seafood trap is real. Action steps, fruit bowl. Have it out. Makes it easier to eat. Veggies, get them out of that stupid bottom tray. All right, you're going to forget to add them. I mentioned this in our last webinar, but snacks, you want to hide them in pantries. You want to put them maybe even in your basement. And you can even put them in hard-to-reach places, like attics. You can put them, if you're a shorter person, you can put them somewhere where you're not going to be able to reach them as much. So changing up the height, all that sort of visibility and ability to get them is going to make a difference in whether you're happy or not. And the last thing that is going to help you the most is just to not have it in the house. And especially if you have kids or you have somebody who is in your house that doesn't have the, maybe they're a lot skinnier and they're trying to put on weight, whatever the case, and they don't have to deal with that stuff. That's obviously, you're going to have to make some concessions, but it's very simple. The less you have of this stuff in your house, the less you're going to have it. So and sometimes that means making some sacrifices. So you really just need to judge how important it is to you. So if it's important to have the food in the house, then that's a sacrifice you're going to have to make. If you realize it's more important for it not to be in the house and whatever the consequences, people are going to have to deal with it, then you have to take control of that situation. So we have a lot of different action steps that we can take there. All right, visibility, wing experiment, moving on. This is probably the most important thing. And this is where people have the toughest time. And no matter what nutrition plan that we have in place, and I've tried a lot of them over the last 6 or 7 years, honesty, awareness, and accountability. Whatever steps you take, these have to be a part of it. Honesty, awareness, and accountability. And this says questionnaire, and this goes back over and over. Study after study, after study, after study. From the smartest folks to the average folks, people are asked after a certain experiment, how much do you think you ate? Everyone undershoots their eating. Everyone. I am not immune. Joseph Taylor is not immune. You are not immune. We need to realize that we need a little help and we need to take these extra steps, okay? So we're not as aware as we think. And we need to be honest with ourselves. And a lot of studies, when they have people self-report their diets, they are way off. So people will have even logging their food, but doing like a dietary recall, because we'll, all the time ask people, what'd you eat? Studies show that those are people usually undershooting their calories by 40 to 50%. So you might say, I ate 1,000 calories. In fact, you ate 1,500 calories. And some studies show that people self-report even up to 70%. And this has really been verified. And when they actually lock people in a room and they follow everything that they're eating, and then they see, okay, they're really able to map to their eating and what their actual progress. And there's a real famous study, if anybody's interested, it's called the Minnesota study. It's referenced a lot when people think that they don't understand why they're not eating enough. They think they're not eating enough and they're not losing the weight they want. And the Minnesota study you couldn't do it today. It was very unethical. They actually starved people and everybody lost weight and they were able to account for it. So the point is that when we don't have these measures in place, we think we're eating a lot less than we are. So we need to take a few action steps. But why does this happen? people are forgetful. I legitimately do not remember what I ate for breakfast today. I think I had a protein bar. I had yogurt. Maybe it was yesterday. I don't remember. So it's going to be hard. You have so much going on in your life. Another thing is the eye test. When people are eyeballing things rather than weighing them, their perception can be way off what they're actually having. And it doesn't mean you have to weigh things always and forever. You should do it long enough that you have a gauge, especially when we're using tablespoons. It's often not rounded. When we're using olive oil, that sort of stuff, the eye test can really mess you up. What they really show is that dietary fat, people way overdo dietary fat. And that's things like oils, butters, so regular butter, peanut butter, any healthy butters, even nuts, avocados, those are all very big fat sources. People really undershoot that. And the reason why that has consequences is because fat sources are very calorie dense. You get a lot of calories for just a little bit of an amount. And there's a lot of even psychology and sociology that I could not explain to you that goes into that. And you'll see with a lot of things, whether it's celebrities or sports teams or whatever, people will only remember the good things about that they hear about these people and forget or brush to the side the negative things. It's gonna be a lot the same thing in your life. When you're logging your food, you're thinking about it, you might subconsciously put to the back of your mind something that you had that wasn't in line with what you're doing. So this shows that it's really hard for us to know what we're eating. So what steps can we take, right? Is it impossible?
It's definitely not impossible.
Not impossible, right? One thing you can do is having a food log. You could obviously do it on your phone. If you're handwriting it, that's also good because there's a much less chance that you're going to miss something. But specifically writing the amounts down. And that goes in with the food scale. Biggest issue that we have with the food scale is, I buy my food all the time. It's not realistic. I'm eating at restaurants. JT, how many restaurants have you eaten out in the last few days?
None.
None. No one's going to restaurants. You can put this food scale in your pocket. It can never leave your side. If there's any time to learn how to not only use a food scale, but to figure out, I'm going to learn what portions. I'm going to be able to have access to a food scale. Now is the time, all right? Like I said, this is a nice little project to take on. You can really increase your knowledge right now. This is how we turn like a crisis into something productive. You can pre-portion things out. So you buy whatever. I don't know. Say you buy like a thing of snacks. You can portion them out into Ziploc bags. If you buy a big thing of nuts, you can measure them out and portion them into Ziploc bags. That way, whenever you grab them, you always have them measured out. You're always going to know. And then, of course, having somebody to hold you accountable when it comes to exercise, when it comes to anything in life that is tough. Anything, whether it's business, whether it's exercise, doesn't matter. Having somebody to help you out is going to be crucial. So you can have a coach to help you with this. Obviously, we're here and available for you with your food logging. You can have a family member or a friend to help you with that as well. And again, this is a new project that you can focus on, something that you have the time to do, really. So please be honest with yourselves and help somebody keep you aware. All right, and JT mentioned this the other day, but having some kind of eating schedule, almost like you're an animal and these are the times you're going to feed your animal. I'll be honest, you don't have a dog? Joe, Coach Joe's over here. Joe, do your dogs eat whenever the hell they want, or is there some kind of schedule? On a schedule. With the baby, is there some kind of schedule? There's some routine to it? Try to have a routine. Well, you're not a baby. You can have a routine, all right? And so the routine, very simple. Everybody's probably have a breakfast, unless you're doing some kind of intermittent fasting, which I'm usually not going to recommend. But if you do like to do that, then you can obviously do that. For the majority, I'm going to recommend a breakfast, a lunch, a dinner, and then 1 to 2 snacks. And how do you know which should be 1 or 2? If you're of a higher body weight, then you can probably handle 2. If you're of lower body weight, you can handle 1.
Having 2.
JT needs 3. You could also go by your current meal frequency. That way it doesn't totally disrupt what you're doing now. If you usually eat your meals more spaced out, have more 2. Maybe just have them be lighter. If you're not somebody who eats very frequently, you can have 1. And I'd say a good rule of thumb would be 3 to 5 hours between all of your feedings. That's enough that you're spacing them out, because if your meals are too frequent, then you're probably going to, you get used to eating so much, and that's going to lead to too many calories.
When you say feedings, I feel like more of an animal.
Well, yeah, I treat you like an animal sometimes. Sometimes you want to be treated like an animal, JC. meals, whatever words you want to use. That's about the length of time I'd recommend having between them. And also, you should take into account like how long are you awake for. Everybody should strive for that 8 hours of sleep. Depending on your job, if things are a little different, that might determine whether you have 1 or 2 snacks. So it's definitely important to have a schedule and to try to stick to it. That's going to limit the overall food that you're having. And right now, you're going to be moving around. You're going to have so many opportunities to eat that having some kind of schedule is definitely going to keep you in line. All right. And also something I didn't mention is probably to stay away from the kitchen. And that goes to that seafood trap. The more you're in the kitchen, the more that you can be tempted to eat. So definitely want to stay away from that as much as you can. So,
I know when I'm in the kitchen, every time I walk past the fridge, it's very tempting to just grab leftovers.
Of course, because JT is an and just to recap some of the strategies, and if you do nothing else, as far as what your food is going to be for the next weekend, today, Saturday, and Sunday. If you don't have the specific foods, don't worry. If you dial these in, this will help you so much. Eating slowly, using all the tips that we talked about, stopping at 80% full, having smaller plates, glasses, or bowls, making the healthy food in your house more visible, making the unhealthy or less healthy food in your house less visible and just harder to reach. Having some kind of self-awareness, so that means it could be tracking your food, could be logging your food, having some kind of accountability, whether it's us or somebody in your house, checking up on you, asking you what you ate. Maybe you have to report to them all the time to make sure that you're keeping on track. And having some kind of eating schedule, because it's going to limit everything that you're eating, and it's going to make sure you're not, haphazardly grabbing something from the kitchen every time. So I 100% would recommend that you dial these things into play. Let us know if you need any help with them. And again, doesn't matter what you have in your house right now, these tactics can be applied to any food. And that's why this is going to be a strategy that really helps for the long term, because there are times when, whether you're out to eat, when things calm down, or whether you're at work, or whatever's going on, you only have access to whatever food you have access to. If you employ these, it's all going to be helpful. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, please let us know. Eat slowly, stay out of the kitchen, get your feedings in, and do some exercise.
And a couple points that Rob hit on too is like all these are hacks or habits or tricks. We are going to provide you with more information on if you do want to really get a hold of your nutrition and track your food and have an amount of calories to hit or whatnot and get really advanced, because this is a time where you can really focus on your nutrition. We're going to be doing a webinar on that as well, but none of that even really matters if you don't hit the point where he hit on being honest with yourself and logging and tracking, because it is a direct science. It's, if you eat more calories than you expend, you're going to gain weight and vice versa. So we will definitely help you with that. And especially now is a time where if you want some help or some coaching, like over a phone call, please reach out. We have plenty of time that we can talk to you guys on the phone. So please don't hesitate to want to reach out. We'll help you with anything that you need, but be on the lookout for that. We'll have another webinar on exact calories and nutrition and all that stuff, but don't be afraid to reach out. We are your coaches and we do want to help as much as we possibly can. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you on Monday.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.